Provide all them information to you.
Well, let me ask you this. What I was just talking to her. What if she told me that you beat the piss out of her and you jumped on top of her and started punching her in the face? Should I just go ahead and take that?
Okay, but don't you know?
It's your side of the story. Give your side.
You just talking to her though. With the information that she gave you, can't she tell you?
You want me to just take everything she says?
I'm not from here.
Okay, but you want me to just take everything she says as fact?
All I'm just saying is I'm not from here. I don't know her exact address.
Okay, that's fine.
That's what I'm saying.
If my mind gets ruined, my life is ruined, because then you can't think, you can't do things, you don't know what the fuck you're doing in life. It's like literally everything is the quality of your ability to think. And I knew that I was putting that in jeopardy.
Victim's identity will not be released in accordance with Marcy's law. On October 29, 2025, at approximately 2:15 p.m., the victim entered the Miami Gardens Police Department, accompanied by her attorney, to report an incident.
Joe Rogan just dropped a bombshell about Tank Davis that nobody saw coming. We're talking about leaked body cam footage, so shocking that Rogan says it changes everything we thought we knew about this entire situation. And here's the kicker. While everyone's been focused on the obvious drama, there's something way bigger happening behind the scenes that could destroy Tank's career forever.
And overcome all those feelings of weakness that are inside of you.
Yeah, and it acts as like a forcing mechanism for discipline.
So here's what's really going down. The Miami Gardens Police Department isn't just looking for Gervonta Davis anymore. They've escalated this to a full-blown manhunt. We're talking about the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force getting involved, which means they believe Tank is either hiding or actively running from authorities. This isn't some routine warrant situation. When the marshals get called in, it means law enforcement thinks you're going to be difficult to find. And the charges: false imprisonment, battery, and attempted kidnapping. These aren't misdemeanors we're talking about. These are felonies that could land Tank behind bars for years, effectively ending his boxing career at its peak. Legal experts are saying that involving the Fugitive Task Force signals that authorities believe Tank might flee jurisdiction or is already in hiding, which makes this situation exponentially worse for his legal defense.
What do you mean, what do I mean?
I had somebody I have a driver that will take out where
Get him over here then. If you're gonna kick someone out of your house,
Sir, you don't have to do that.
I don't have to, I'm sorry. I don't have to do what?
Bravo, 17 miles to me.
Put your hands on her?
No, I did not. Of course she's gonna tell you everything. Okay,
did?
why
I'm
did you
just
ask
asking
me
you.
that? Why did you ask
Because that's my job, my man. That's my job.
But here's where Joe Rogan's analysis gets absolutely wild. Rogan isn't just talking about Tank needing anger management or media training. He's saying Tank needs a complete psychological overhaul, the kind of deep foundational work that takes years to accomplish. According to Rogan, this leaked body cam footage reveals someone who's lost all connection to reality, someone whose mindset has become so toxic that even his incredible boxing talent can't save him. Rogan genuinely believes that when Tank gets out of this legal mess, if he gets out, he'll need to discover something entirely new to be passionate about. Because here's the thing that nobody's talking about. Rogan thinks Tank has already lost his love for boxing. All that natural talent, all those knockout victories, and the fire just isn't there anymore. For an elite athlete, that's not just concerning, it's career-ending. When you lose passion at Tank's level, you don't just become a worse fighter. You become vulnerable to getting seriously hurt in the ring.
Finding a pursuit or a passion or something you truly love that's engaging and challenging, that is exciting for you, and it advances you as a person. And the lessons that you learn in pursuing that thing, you apply to everything in your life.
Everything in life, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let me break down what actually happened, because the details are absolutely insane. According to the victim's official statement, this incident went down at 4:15 a.m. at a gentleman's club where she worked. Tank allegedly grabbed her by the back of the head, then by the throat, and forcibly dragged her down a stairway toward a parking garage. Think about that for a second. We're not talking about a heated argument that got out of hand. This is allegedly premeditated, calculated behavior. The victim managed to escape and run to her coworkers for safety, but here's what makes this even more disturbing. She had known Tank since 2022, and they had been in an intimate relationship for 5 months that ended just 1 month before this alleged incident. So this wasn't some random encounter. This was allegedly Tank targeting someone he had previously been involved with. And get this, the lead detective, Gary Florentio, reviewed surveillance footage that reportedly corroborates key portions of the victim's account. We're not dealing with a he-said-she-said situation anymore. There's apparently video evidence.
By her attorney to report an incident that occurred on October 27, 2025. According to the victim's statement, at approximately 4:15 a.m. while working, the victim was approached by Mr. Davis. The victim reported that Mr. Davis grabbed her by her back of her head, pulling her by her hair with one hand and by her throat with the other. He forcefully escorted her down a stairway and toward the parking garage while maintaining his grip on the back of her head. Upon reaching the parking garage, the victim reported that Mr. Davis released her, at which point she was able to run towards her coworkers for safety. The victim further reported that she has known Mr. Davis since 2022, and they were previously involved in an intimate relationship for approximately 5 months, which ended about a month prior to the incident. Lead detective Gary Florencio obtained and reviewed video surveillance footage that corroborates key elements of the victim's statement. As a result of the diligent and hard work of our Special Victims Unit, an arrest warrant has been issued for Gervonta Bryant Davis on the following charges: battery, false imprisonment, and attempted kidnapping. The investigation determined that Mr. Davis used force to restrain and attempt to remove the victim from the location against her will. At this time, the Miami Gardens Police Department is actively working with the United States Marshals Fugitive Task Force to locate and apprehend Mr. Davis.
But wait, it gets worse. A user named Hassan posted on X that police have confirmed they possess video evidence supporting the allegations against Tank for assaulting his ex-girlfriend. This isn't just surveillance footage from the club. We're potentially talking about body cam footage from responding officers, security camera footage from multiple angles, and possibly even cell phone video from witnesses. When Joe Rogan talks about this leaked body cam footage being absolutely shocking, he's likely referring to evidence that shows Tank's behavior and demeanor during police contact. Body cam footage doesn't lie. It captures everything: tone of voice, body language, admissions, threats, everything that can make or break a criminal case. And if Rogan, who's seen some wild stuff in his career, is calling it shocking, then we're probably looking at footage that shows Tank at his absolute worst. The fact that this footage has leaked before the case goes to trial is also a massive problem for Tank's legal team, because it means public opinion is being shaped by evidence that may or may not be admissible in court.
Miami Gardens Police. Davis is accused of attacking a woman who works at a gentleman's club back in October. She says he left her battered and bruised. Police are not releasing the name of the woman or the club. They did say the pair had dated in the past. Now there is a warrant out for his arrest.
The victim reported that Mr. Davis grabbed her by her back of her head, pulling her by her hair with one hand and by her throat with the other.
Last month, 3 months before this incident, he was accused of assaulting the mother of his children in an episode that allegedly happened on Father's Day. Several previous charges were dropped when the alleged victims, though, did not cooperate.
Here's where the boxing world is starting to panic. Sean Porter, who knows this sport inside and out, recently laid out what Tank's potential comeback could look like. And honestly, it's not pretty. Porter's saying that even if Tank somehow gets out of this legal mess by summer, most of the big-name fighters won't want to deal with the controversy. A rematch with Lamont Roach? Probably not happening, especially after Roach's recent draw with Isaac Cruz showed he's leveled up significantly. Porter's arguing that Tank should be fighting the winner of Teofimo Lopez versus Shakur Stevenson at 140 pounds. But here's the reality: those fighters have options. They don't need to risk their reputations by associating with someone facing these kinds of charges. Porter makes a good point about Tank having fought at that weight before, but he's ignoring the elephant in the room: marketability. Promoters are going to think twice about investing millions in a fighter who might end up in prison before fight night.
Davis, also known as Tank. The victim reported that Mr. Davis grabbed her by her back of her head, pulling her by her hair with one hand and by her throat with the other. He forcefully escorted her down a stairway and toward the parking garage while maintaining his grip on the back of her head. The victim further reported they were previously involved in an intimate relationship for approximately 5 months. Lead detective Gary Florencio obtained and reviewed video surveillance footage that corroborates key elements of the victim's statement. As a result of the diligent and hard work of our Special Victims Unit, an arrest warrant has been issued for Gervonta Bryant Davis on the following charges: battery, false imprisonment, and attempted kidnapping. The investigation determined that Mr. Davis used force to restrain and attempt to remove the victim from the location against her will. The Miami Gardens Police Department is actively working with the United States Marshals Fugitive Task Force to locate and apprehend Mr. Davis.
What's up, everybody? Marcos Villegas for Fight Up TV. And let's get straight into it, because this is a serious and developing situation involving Gervonta Davis. So what exactly happened? According to law enforcement and court documentation, an arrest warrant has been issued for Gervonta Davis stemming from an alleged domestic violence incident that reportedly took place back in October in Miami Gardens, Florida. Police say the incident occurred at a gentleman's club where the alleged victim worked. The charges listed on the warrant are battery, false imprisonment, and attempted kidnapping. As of now, authorities say that Gervonta has not turned himself in, which is a critical detail in how this case has unfolded. And this is where things change. Miami Gardens Police confirmed they are working now with the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force to locate and arrest Gervonta Davis. This doesn't just happen automatically. When someone has an active warrant and law enforcement believes they may be difficult to locate, avoiding contact, or capable of crossing jurisdictions, U.S. Marshals are often brought in. For you guys wondering, what exactly do the U.S. Marshals do? I got you. They are the oldest federal law enforcement agency in the country, operating under the Department of Justice, and they specialize in the following: tracking and arresting fugitives, assisting with high-profile warrants, running joint task forces with local police, protecting federal courts.
Here's something nobody's talking about. The timing of all this is absolutely devastating for Tank's career trajectory. This alleged incident happened in October, right when Tank should have been negotiating his next big fight. Instead, he's been living under this cloud of investigation for months. Think about all the opportunities that have passed him by while he's been dealing with this legal situation. Ryan Garcia moved on to other opponents. Shakur Stevenson built his profile with different fights. The lightweight division kept moving while Tank was stuck in legal limbo. Even if he beats these charges completely, he's lost months of prime career time, and in boxing, momentum is everything. Fighters at Tank's level can't afford to take extended breaks, especially not for legal issues. The sport moves too fast, and fans have short memories when it comes to fighters who aren't active.
Like a press conference, they got like DAs on the step, because I'm telling you, because you guys can't see it, right? They got police officers on the step, I'm assuming media, and because I hear people taking pictures and things like that, so paparazzi, just to announce this, which we'll get into.
According to the victim's statement, at approximately 4:15 a.m. while working, the victim was approached by Mr. Davis. The victim reported that Mr. Davis grabbed her by her back of her head, pulling her by her hair with one hand and by her throat with the other. He forcefully escorted her down a stairway and toward the parking garage while maintaining his grip on the back of her head. Upon reaching the parking garage, the victim reported that Mr. Davis released her, at which point she was able to run towards her co-workers for safety. The victim further reported that she has known Mr. Davis since 2022, and they were previously involved in an intimate relationship for approximately 5 months, which ended about a month prior to the incident. Lead detective Gary Florencio obtained and reviewed video surveillance footage that corroborates key elements of the victim's statement.
Oh, so they got footage, I guess, some footage from the club. That's not good.
Florencio obtained and reviewed video surveillance footage that corroborates key elements of the victim's statement. As a result of the diligent and hard work of our Special Victims Unit, an arrest warrant has been issued for Gervonta Bryant Davis on the following charges: battery, false imprisonment, and attempted kidnapping. The investigation determined that Mr. Davis used force to restrain and attempt to remove the victim from the location against her will. At this time, the Miami Gardens Police Department is actively working with the United States Marshals Fugitive Task Force to locate and apprehend Mr. Davis. We are here.
Bro, what is going on? Like I'm gonna be real. On my channel, I keep it G. And in no way, shape, form, or fashion do I agree with assault or battery or these heinous type of charges. I have never condoned a man touching a woman in that way.
Now here's where this story takes an even darker turn. This isn't Tank's first rodeo with legal trouble, and that's going to hurt him badly in court and in public opinion. Remember 2022, right before his massive fight with Ryan Garcia? Tank was dealing with legal issues then too, and it created a huge distraction during what should have been the biggest moment of his career. Pattern behavior is what prosecutors love to establish, and Tank is handing them a gift-wrapped case. Legal experts will tell you that repeat offenses, especially involving similar allegations, make it nearly impossible to claim that incidents are isolated mistakes. The prosecution is going to argue that Tank has a pattern of using his physical advantages to intimidate and control people, particularly women he's been involved with. And here's what's really scary for Tank. This pattern suggests that his problems aren't just legal, they're psychological. You can't fix deep-seated behavioral issues with better lawyers or public relations campaigns.
If Tank were to come back 2020, who knows, in June, summertime, what you looking at Lamont Roach? Like, what are you looking at? What are you looking at?
I don't think he's going to fight him again.
Yeah.
Especially after the draw with Pitbull.
Yeah.
So I think that's he can use that as an excuse, like, he can't even beat the guy that I beat, blah, blah, blah. You know how it goes. The same thing, boxers kill me because they'll say, on one hand, they'll say, he couldn't beat him and I beat him, and then they'll say, styles make fights. You know what I mean? It's all BS.
Yeah.
So I don't think that he's going to fight Lamont Roach. I think that he should be fighting the winner of Teofimo and Shakur. Plain and simple.
Plain and simple. At 140.
I think he has no excuse to not fight Shakur at 140 because of the size. I think he don't want to fight. I mean, he shouldn't have an excuse to fight Teo either. You went up to 140 years ago to fight Mario Barrios. So
what do you say about his legacy though? Like, let's say he does come back and it's Shakur or it's Teo, and let's say he possibly loses. Do you give him love for stepping up and getting in the ring with those guys, especially if he continue to move on and fight other guys at 140, big names at 140? Or do you say, hey, you were gone, trouble, you came back, you weren't who you used to be, how do you look at the legacy if he come back against one of those guys? Those guys been active, he hasn't been.
But here's what Joe Rogan understands that most people are missing. This isn't just about Tank needing to stay out of trouble. Rogan thinks Tank has fundamentally lost his way as a human being. When Rogan talks about Tank needing to find something new to be passionate about, he's essentially saying that boxing has become toxic for Tank's mental state. Think about it. Tank's entire identity has been built around being a feared knockout artist, someone who can hurt people with his hands. When that mentality bleeds over into your personal life, when you start solving personal problems with physical intimidation, that's when your greatest strength becomes your greatest weakness. Rogan has seen this before with other fighters who couldn't separate their ring persona from their real-world behavior. The cage or the boxing ring is the only place where that level of aggression is not just acceptable, but celebrated. Outside those boundaries, it's criminal behavior.
Gervonta, you better have that same energy when you get into that ring for this rematch with Lamont. Because I'm getting so tired of hearing about these DV charges you keep catching. So apparently Gervonta Davis has been arrested for another DV case. I think this is about his third or fourth one now, probably more than that. To be honest, this don't really shock me. Because y'all remember when he was dating Ari and they had got into a real bad and he pulled her wig off in the middle of the street, right? That incident was all over the internet. And fast forward, there was another incident that happened back in 2022 with another baby mama, where she claims that she was in the car and things got really rough between them and she made a frantic call to 911, which she should not have made, she claims. And also said that Gervonta did not hurt her or her daughter. So why did you call the police? It's giving, I'm not mad no more, and at the end of the day, that's my baby daddy. So let me go ahead and scrap this up, clear up this rumor so nothing else goes any further with this. I really don't understand what be going on with men putting their hands on people. It's like, even if you want to give Gervonta the benefit of the doubt and say that he's innocent, when you got track record of 4 or 5 DV cases, all proven guilty, bro, it gets to a point. Don't you blow off enough steam in the ring? And this is really disappointing for Gervonta, because it's like, do you want to throw away your career? You're literally #1 right now. You've been #1. You probably will stay #1 as long as you keep doing what you're doing. Because as many people as see them fall, it seemed like Lamont Roach was his only real competition. He match on the way, by the way. Really big fight. He got to be there for that. I don't know what he's going through, and maybe it's just me, but I do feel like ever since that fight with Lamont Roach, he been off lately. He ain't been on social media as much. Now he going back to his ways like this. I'm gonna go check on that man. Y'all know what they say about boxers and the things that it does to the brain.
And get this, Tank's supporters are trying to frame this as just another challenge that elite athletes face. But that's complete nonsense. The pressure of being a professional athlete doesn't excuse allegedly dragging someone down a stairway by their throat. The constant scrutiny doesn't justify false imprisonment charges. Tank's fans keep talking about how difficult it is to perform under pressure, how every move gets analyzed, how there's no room for mistakes. But here's the reality check they need. Most elite athletes manage to navigate their careers without accumulating domestic violence charges. Look at fighters like Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr., or even controversial figures like Ryan Garcia. They deal with the same pressures without allegedly assaulting their ex-girlfriends. The pressure of fame, defense, is exactly the kind of enabling behavior that allows these situations to escalate.
I don't know any of the details. This is the information that is available to us as of this recording. So again, I'm saying unfortunate news because Tank Davis is scheduled to fight, and he's scheduled to fight in 11 days, and it's almost midnight my time, Pacific Standard Time. So that means really 10 days. Does this affect in any way? Will this affect Tank Davis and his fight? You know, I don't know. I don't know all the details, but we've seen stuff like this happen before in the past. And since it's so fresh, today being December 27th, I don't think it will impact or, you know, postpone his fight or anything like that, because it'll be too quick to go to trial or anything like that. However, some would wonder, could this affect him mentally, right? You left Mayweather Promotions, you're your own boss, doing your own thing. So this is your first foray into that. You have a difficult Olympian in terms of Hector Luis Garcia that you're getting ready to fight, a little bit taller and bigger than you. And, you know, now you have something in the background. This, I can't say it's news to Gervonta Davis in terms of him having little run-ins, because he had a run-in with some type of vehicular hit and run or whatever the situation is. So he's had court cases before. We'll see how it all plays out. Again, I don't really have any additional details. Hopefully it doesn't affect the fight, and this is situated and the details come out in due course. You know, I don't really have nothing else to say other than that. Just want to give you guys the latest news, but Gervonta Davis was arrested, DV. And
here's what's really going to shock people when this case goes to trial. The surveillance footage that Detective Gary Florentio reviewed apparently shows the entire incident unfolding exactly as the victim described. We're not talking about grainy, inconclusive video that could be interpreted multiple ways. Sources suggest this footage clearly shows Tank grabbing the victim and forcibly moving her toward the parking garage. But here's the kicker: there may be audio as well. Modern security systems don't just record video, they capture sound. If there's audio of Tank making threats, if there's evidence of him verbally intimidating the victim while physically controlling her, his legal team is going to have a nightmare trying to defend that in court. And remember, this happened at 4:15 a.m. at a gentleman's club, which means there were likely multiple witnesses who saw at least part of this incident unfold. But here's what nobody saw coming. The U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force involvement suggests that Tank might have already violated his bail conditions or failed to appear for a court date. When you're dealing with felony charges and you don't show up when you're supposed to, that's when they call in the big guns. The Marshals don't get involved in routine warrant executions. They get called when local police think a suspect has fled or is actively evading arrest. This means Tank's legal situation might be even worse than what's been reported publicly. If he's violated bail conditions, that's additional charges. If he's fled jurisdiction, that shows consciousness of guilt, which prosecutors love to use in court. And here's the part that's going to destroy Tank's legacy if these allegations are proven true. The victim knew him personally. They had a relationship. She trusted him enough to be around him, and he allegedly used that trust to isolate and assault her. That's not heat-of-the-moment behavior, that's predatory. When someone uses a previous intimate relationship to gain access to a victim, it demonstrates a level of calculation that makes the crime exponentially worse. The prosecution is going to argue that Tank specifically sought out this victim because he knew her work schedule, knew where to find her, and believed he could intimidate her into silence. That's not a mistake or a lapse in judgment. That's allegedly planned criminal behavior. So here's where we stand right now. Tank Davis is wanted by federal authorities on serious felony charges. There's apparently video evidence supporting the victim's allegations. His boxing career is in complete limbo. His promotional relationships are strained. And according to Joe Rogan, even if Tank somehow survives this legal nightmare, he's lost the passion and mental clarity needed to compete at an elite level. This isn't just about one bad night or one poor decision. This appears to be the culmination of years of escalating behavioral problems that Tank's inner circle either ignored or enabled. The leaked body cam footage that has Rogan so shocked might be the evidence that finally forces everyone to confront the reality that Tank's problems go way deeper than anyone wanted to admit. Here's my question for you, drop it in the comments. Do you think Tank can come back from this, or is this the beginning of the end for one of boxing's biggest stars? And honestly, even if he beats these charges, can you ever look at him the same way again? If this breakdown helped you understand what's really happening behind all the headlines, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell because this story is far from over. We'll be following every development as it unfolds. I'll see you in the next one. But hold up, there's something even more disturbing that just surfaced, and it's going to completely change how people view this entire situation. Multiple sources are now reporting that this wasn't an isolated incident with this particular victim. We're talking about a pattern of alleged harassment and intimidation that apparently went on for weeks after their relationship ended. According to new witness statements that have emerged, Tank allegedly showed up at her workplace multiple times, despite being told to stay away. This paints a picture of someone who wasn't just having a bad night. This was allegedly systematic stalking behavior that culminated in the October incident. When prosecutors get their hands on evidence showing a pattern of escalating behavior, it transforms the entire narrative from mistake to predator. And here's what's absolutely crazy. Tank's own social media activity during this period is now being scrutinized by investigators. Legal experts are saying that prosecutors are likely combing through every Instagram story, every Twitter post, every public appearance Tank made between the end of their relationship and the alleged assault. They're looking for evidence of his mindset, his intentions, and potentially even admissions of guilt. Remember, this is the social media generation. Everything gets documented. If Tank posted anything that could be interpreted as threatening, if he made any references to this situation, if he showed any consciousness of guilt, that's all going into the prosecution's case file. Defense attorneys always tell their clients to stay off social media during legal proceedings, but the damage from posts made before arrest might already be done. Now here's where this gets really technical, but it's important to understand. The charges Tank is facing: false imprisonment, battery, and attempted kidnapping. These aren't just serious felonies. They're crimes that carry mandatory minimum sentences in Florida. We're not talking about a situation where a judge has discretion to give probation or community service. If Tank gets convicted on the attempted kidnapping charge alone, he's looking at a minimum of several years in state prison. And here's the kicker. These are charges that are almost impossible to plea bargain down when there's video evidence. Prosecutors don't offer sweet deals when they have surveillance footage showing the alleged crime in progress. Tank's legal team is probably scrambling to find any procedural errors or constitutional violations that could get the evidence thrown out, because fighting this case on the merits looks nearly impossible. But here's what Joe Rogan identified that most people are completely missing. This isn't just about Tank's legal problems. Rogan thinks Tank has developed what he calls toxic masculinity syndrome, where physical dominance becomes the solution to every problem. Rogan's seen this pattern with other fighters who can't turn off their aggressive instincts outside the ring. When your entire career is built around intimidating and hurting people, some fighters start applying that same approach to personal relationships, business disputes, and everyday conflicts. Rogan believes Tank has reached a point where he genuinely doesn't understand that his physical advantages make him the aggressor in every situation, regardless of his intentions. That's not something you fix with anger management classes. That requires years of intensive therapy to rewire fundamental thought patterns. And get this, the boxing world is starting to whisper about something even more damaging to Tank's career. Multiple sources are suggesting that this incident might not be the only one under investigation. Law enforcement apparently reached out to several other women who had previous relationships with Tank. And while we don't know what they found, the fact that they're conducting a broader investigation suggests they suspect a pattern of behavior. If additional victims come forward with similar allegations, Tank's legal problems multiply exponentially. Each additional case means more charges, more evidence, and more media coverage. It also means that prosecutors can establish a clear pattern of predatory behavior, which makes conviction much more likely and sentencing much harsher. Here's something that's flying under the radar, but could be the most damaging aspect of this entire situation. Tank's arrest warrant apparently includes specific language about him being considered a flight risk, which means the judge who issued it believes Tank has both the means and motivation to flee jurisdiction. When you're a millionaire athlete with connections around the world, courts take flight risk very seriously. This designation means that if Tank does get arrested, his bail is going to be astronomical. We're talking millions of dollars, not hundreds of thousands. It also means he'll likely have to surrender his passport and possibly submit to electronic monitoring. For a fighter who's used to traveling for training camps and international fights, these restrictions would essentially end his boxing career even before trial. Now here's where the timeline gets really suspicious. The alleged incident happened in October, but Tank's team managed to keep it quiet for months. That's not normal for high-profile criminal cases. Usually this stuff leaks within days or weeks. The fact that Tank's people were able to suppress this story for so long suggests they were working overtime to either make it go away or minimize the damage. But here's what they couldn't control: the victim's decision to cooperate with law enforcement and the existence of multiple forms of evidence. No amount of crisis management can overcome video footage and witness statements. Tank's team probably spent months trying to negotiate some kind of settlement or plea deal. But when you're dealing with felony charges and federal authorities, those options become extremely limited. And here's what's really going to hurt Tank in court: his own previous statements about violence and relationships. Prosecutors love to use defendants' own words against them, and Tank has given plenty of interviews over the years where he's talked about his approach to conflict and his views on respect and dominance. If there's any footage of Tank glorifying violence or talking about how he handles disrespect, that's going into evidence as consciousness of guilt. Defense attorneys call this prior bad acts evidence, and it's designed to show the jury that the defendant has a propensity for the type of behavior he's charged with. Tank's entire public persona has been built around being intimidating and dangerous. That's great for selling fights, but it's terrible when you're trying to convince a jury you're not capable of assault. Here's what nobody's talking about but should be: the impact this is having on Tank's training and physical condition. Elite fighters require absolute mental focus and emotional stability to maintain peak performance. When you're dealing with federal charges, potential prison time, and career-ending consequences, that kind of stress destroys athletic performance. Tank hasn't fought since this investigation began, and even if he somehow resolves his legal issues quickly, he's going to be months behind in his training. At the elite level of boxing, a few months of distraction and irregular training can mean the difference between winning and getting knocked out. Tank's opponents are continuing to improve and stay active while he's stuck dealing with lawyers and court dates. But here's the most disturbing part of Joe Rogan's analysis. Rogan doesn't think Tank understands the severity of his situation. According to Rogan, Tank is still operating under the assumption that his celebrity status and financial resources will somehow make this problem disappear. But federal charges don't work that way. Money and fame can get you better lawyers, but they can't make video evidence disappear. Rogan thinks Tank is living in a bubble where his handlers are telling him what he wants to hear instead of preparing him for the reality that he might spend the next decade in prison. That disconnect between perception and reality is what Rogan finds most shocking about the leaked body cam footage. Tank apparently had no idea how much trouble he was actually in. And here's something that just emerged that makes this whole situation even more complex. Tank's promotional contract with promotions apparently includes morality clauses that could void his deal if he's convicted of felonies. We're not just talking about suspended earnings. Tank could lose his entire promotional relationship, which would leave him without the infrastructure needed to secure major fights. Even if he beats these charges, the legal fees alone are going to cost millions, and without steady fight income, Tank could find himself in serious financial trouble. Professional athletes are notorious for burning through money quickly, and legal defense for federal charges isn't cheap. Tank's entire financial empire could collapse even if he avoids prison. So here's where we really stand. Tank Davis isn't just facing criminal charges, he's facing the complete destruction of everything he's built. His boxing career, his promotional relationships, his financial security, his public reputation, and potentially his freedom are all hanging in the balance. The leaked body cam footage that has Joe Rogan so concerned, apparently, shows someone who has completely lost touch with reality and the consequences of his actions. This isn't a story about an athlete making a mistake. This appears to be the documented downfall of someone who believed his success made him untouchable. And the most tragic part? According to everyone who's seen the evidence, Tank did this to himself through a series of choices that were completely avoidable.